Captain Taeho Kim stood in front of the large window on the bridge of the ESS Defiant. His eyes were fixed on the stars ahead. Behind him, 30 men and women worked at their stations. They were the last hope for Earth. "Captain, enemy ships detected," said Lieutenant Jae-yun Park. Her voice was calm, but her hands shook slightly as she worked at her screen. "I count 47 hegemony warships. Their main fleet is here." Taeho nodded. He had known this moment would come. 3 years of war had ended with Earth's defeat. Most of the human fleet was gone. Cities burned. Billions dead. The Defiant was never meant to fight this war alone. It was a test ship, built with new technology that wasn't ready when the aliens attacked. "Show me," he said. The main screen lit up. The hegemony ships looked like sharp black knives against the darkness of space. Their hulls shone with strange blue lights. The biggest ship at the center was twice the size of the others. The inevitable Dominion, the flagship of Admiral Eugene Kang. "They're forming a circle around us," said Commander Hai Jin Cho, the second in command. Her face was tight with worry. "Standard hegemony trap formation. No way out." "There's always a way out," Taeho said. He turned to face his crew. These 30 people were all that remained of Earth's best fighters, handpicked for the Defiant's special mission. Now that mission had changed to simple survival. "Options?" he asked. Dr. Dae Jung Kwon, the ship's engineer, stepped forward. His uniform was stained with oil, and his eyes were red from lack of sleep. "The quantum fold drive might give us a chance," he said. "It's not fully tested, but the math works. We could jump past their lines." "And go where?" asked Hai-jin. "They've taken Earth. The colonies are falling one by one." "We fight," said Jae-yun suddenly. Everyone turned to look at the tactical officer. She was the youngest on the bridge, only 26 years old. "I've been studying their formation. Look here." She pointed to her screen. The display showed the enemy flagship pulsing with energy. Their shields drop by 0.3% every time they send out command signals to the fleet. It's small, but it's a pattern. If we time our attack right, we might hurt them. Taeho studied the data. It was true. A tiny flaw in the enemy's perfect plan. "One ship against 47, said Security Chief Jun-ho Park. "Those aren't good odds." "The odds have never been in our favor," Taeho replied. "Not since this war began. But we're still here." A soft alarm beeped from the communication station. Jun Choi, the communication specialist, looked up with wide eyes. "Captain, we're receiving a message from the hegemony flagship. Admiral Kang wants to speak with you." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew what this meant. "Terms of surrender." "Put him through," Taeho ordered. The main screen changed to show the face of Admiral Eugene Kang. The alien looked almost human, except for his pale blue skin and eyes with no pupils. He wore a black uniform with silver marks of rank. "Captain Kim," the admiral said. His voice was deep and smooth. "Your resistance is admirable, but pointless. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded. The hegemony offers mercy to those who surrender." Taeho knew what mercy meant. Work camps. Experiments. Slow death for a species the hegemony had deemed too dangerous to exist freely. "And if we refuse?" Taeho asked. The admiral's mouth formed what might have been a smile on a human face. On him, it looked wrong. "Then you will be destroyed. You have 10 minutes to decide." The screen went dark. Taeho turned to his crew. 30 faces looked back at him. Tired. Afraid. But not beaten. "I won't order you to die," he said quietly. "If you want to surrender, I understand." No one moved. Jae-yun stood up from her station. "The Defiant was built to do the impossible," she said. "Let's show them what one human ship can do." Taeho nodded. He felt a strange calm settle over him. "Prepare all weapons," he ordered. "We have a weak spot to aim for, and only one chance to get it right. We have 9 minutes left. Commander Hai-Jin said, checking her watch. The bridge of the Defiant hummed with activity as the crew prepared for battle. Dr. Dae-Jung-Kwan rushed into the bridge, his face flushed with excitement. He carried a small tablet computer that showed complex diagrams. "Captain, I have an idea," he said to Taiho. "The quantum fold drive wasn't made for fighting. It was made to travel by folding space. But what if we use it differently?" Taiho looked at him. "Explain." "The drive creates a small hole in space, a wormhole. We plan to use it to jump our ship from one place to another," Dae-Jung said. He showed his tablet to the captain. "But we could target the wormhole effect at their ships instead." Jai-Yun moved closer to look at the plans. "You mean we could create a wormhole inside an enemy ship?" she asked. Dae-Jung nodded. "Their shields stop weapons, not space itself. The effects would be dramatic." "How dramatic?" asked Taiho. "It would tear their ship apart from the inside," Dae-Jung said. "But there's a problem. The drive needs a lot of power. Using it this way might burn out all our systems. We might only get one shot." Taiho looked at the tactical display. 47 enemy ships. One shot. "Then we aim for the biggest target," he said. "The inevitable Dominion. If we take out Admiral Kang, the rest of the fleet might fall into chaos." Hai-Jin shook her head. "Their flagship has the strongest shields. Even with the small drop Jai-Yun found, it's still too protected." "What about using our stealth systems?" suggested Junho from the security station. "The Defiant can hide itself better than any ship ever built. We could get closer before they see us." Taiho nodded slowly. A plan was forming in his mind. 7 minutes, Hai-Jin reminded everyone. "Get me a direct line to Admiral Kang," Taiho ordered. Hajum quickly set up the communication. The Admiral's blue face appeared on screen again. "Have you made your choice, Captain?" the alien asked. "We need more time to discuss," Taiho said, trying to sound unsure and afraid. "My crew is divided." The Admiral's face showed no emotion. "You have no more time. The hegemony will not wait." 1 hour, Taiho pleaded. "Just 1 hour to say goodbye. Most of us have families on Earth." This was a lie. Everyone on the Defiant had been chosen because they had no family left. The war had taken everything from them. The Admiral was quiet for a moment. 30 minutes, he finally said. "No more. And you will lower your shields as a sign of good faith." "Thank you, Admiral," Taiho said, bowing his head as if grateful. "We will lower shields." The screen went dark. "He's playing with us," Hai-Jin said angrily, "like a cat with a mouse." "Yes, but cats get distracted," Taiho replied. He turned to his crew. "Listen carefully. We have one chance at this." He explained his plan quickly. They would lower their main shields as promised, but keep their backup shields running at minimum power. These wouldn't stop weapons, but they would hide what they were doing next. While the enemy watched and waited, the Defiant would power up the quantum fold drive and aim it at the inevitable Dominion. "We'll use their confidence against them," Taiho said. "They think we're beaten. They won't expect an attack. But our ship will be defenseless while we charge the drive," Jai-Yun pointed out. "If they decide to attack early." "That's why we need a distraction," Taiho said. He looked at Hejun. "Can you create a fake system failure? Something that looks dangerous but isn't really?" Hejun thought for a moment. "I could make it look like our reactor is going unstable. They might hold off attacking if they think we're about to blow up anyway." "Do it," Taiho ordered. "Dae-Jung, how long to prepare the quantum fold drive?" 20 minutes at least, the engineer said. "And I'll need help." "You've got it. Take anyone you need." Taiho looked around at his crew. "This is our one shot. Make it count." As the crew rushed to their tasks, Taiho stood alone for a moment, staring at the enemy fleet on the screen. One ship against 47. Impossible odds. But humans were good at doing the impossible. Lowering main shields now, Hai-Jin announced. May luck be with us all. Deep in the engine room of the Defiant, Dr. Daejung worked quickly with his team. Sweat ran down his face as he rewired the quantum fold drive. The normal safety protocols would have to be bypassed. "Hand me that tool," he said to his assistant. The engine room was hot and cramped. Power cables snaked across the floor, connecting the drive to the main energy core. Meanwhile, on the bridge, Ensign Min Su Lee sat quietly at his station. He was the youngest crew member, only 23 years old. His job was to monitor enemy communications. As he listened to the hegemony ships talking to each other, he noticed something strange. "Captain," Min Su called out, "I think I found something." Tai-Ho walked over to him. "What is it?" "The enemy ships use a special pattern when they talk to each other. I've been recording it since the war began." Min Su pointed to his screen where lines of code scrolled past. "There's a pattern. Their messages always follow the same rules." Jai-Yun joined them, looking at the screen. "You mean their encryption has a weakness?" Min Su nodded excitedly. "Yes, they think it's perfect because it uses quantum technology, but it's still built on math. And math has patterns. Can you break it?" Tai-Ho asked. "I already have," Min Su said with a small smile. "Listen." He pressed a button, and the bridge speakers came to life. Alien voices filled the room, speaking in the harsh language of the hegemony. "Humans are preparing to surrender. Admiral Kang orders all ships to maintain position. Weapons remain locked on target. Prepare boarding parties." Tai-Ho's eyes widened. "You did it, Min Su. You broke their code." "They think their technology is magic," Min Su said. "But it's just advanced science, and we can understand science." At that moment, Dr. Song Ye-Yoon, the ship's quantum physicist, burst onto the bridge. Her long hair was tied back in a messy ponytail, and she carried a stack of papers covered in calculations. "Captain, I've been studying the hegemony shield technology," she said breathlessly. "I think there's another weakness we can use." Tai-Ho gestured for her to continue. "Their shields are designed to stop energy weapons and physical objects," Song Ye explained. "But they don't account for gravitational changes." She spread her papers on a nearby table. "The Defiant has a graviton lance. It was an experimental weapon that creates intense gravitational fields. We never used it in battle because it needs too much power." "Like the quantum fold drive," Hai-Jin observed. "Exactly," Song Ye said. "But what if we combine them? The fold drive creates a wormhole, which already affects gravity. If we add the graviton lance effect..." Tai-Ho understood immediately. Their shields might collapse completely. "Yes," Song Ye said, "but it's risky. No one has ever combined these technologies before." Jun-Ho checked his watch. "We have 15 minutes left before the Admiral expects our surrender." Tai-Ho made his decision. "Do it. Combine the weapons. Min Su, keep listening to their communications. If they suspect anything, we need to know." Hajum's voice came over the intercom. "Captain, the fake reactor problem is ready. I can activate it whenever you give the word." "Good," Tai-Ho replied. "Wait for my signal." On the main screen, the hegemony fleet remained in position. The massive shape of the inevitable Dominion loomed largest of all. Tai-Ho opened a channel to the engine room. "Daejung, how much longer?" 10 minutes, Captain," came the reply. "Maybe less if Song Ye's modifications work." "They'll work," Tai-Ho said with confidence he didn't fully feel. He looked around at his crew. They were tired, scared, but determined. Humans had always been good at finding ways to survive. "Hai-Jin, plot a course that will take us closer to the flagship," he ordered. "Make it look like we're drifting, like our engines are failing." "Yes, Captain," she replied. Tai-Ho stared at the enemy ships on the screen. So many of them, all waiting to destroy the last human warship. They thought they were hunting a wounded animal. They didn't realize they were facing a cornered one. and cornered animals were the most dangerous of all. Junho Park worked quickly at his security station. While the others prepared the weapons, he had been searching through the Defiance databanks. 3 months ago, human forces had captured a small hegemony ship. The data from its computers was stored on the Defiant for study. "Captain," Junho called. "I found something you need to see." Taiho walked over. "What is it?" "A video file. From 50 years ago." Junho's face was serious. "It shows our first contact with the hegemony." Everyone on the bridge knew the story. 50 years ago, human explorers met the hegemony for the first time. The meeting ended badly when human soldiers fired on the aliens. This mistake started years of tension that finally led to war. "Play it," Taiho ordered. The main screen showed an old video. A human ship floated in space. A larger hegemony vessel approached. The two ships connected through an airlock. Humans and aliens met face to face for the first time. The meeting seemed peaceful. The humans offered gifts. The aliens seemed friendly. Then, a human officer suddenly drew his gun and fired. Other humans followed. The aliens fell. The video ended. "That's what we've been told happened," Junho said. "But there's more." He tapped a key, and the video continued. Now it showed something new. The camera angle changed, showing the scene from behind the humans. A second group of aliens stood there, hidden from view. They raised small devices. The human officer's face changed, becoming angry. That's when he drew his gun. "Mind control," Haijin whispered. "They made him do it." "Yes," Junho said. "The hegemony sabotaged first contact. They wanted war from the beginning." "But why?" Jaeyun asked. "Why would they want to fight us?" Junho opened another file. This is from their military records. It's a report about humans, written before first contact. The file showed images of Earth, human cities, factories, schools. It showed how fast humans had developed technology, how quickly the population grew. They were afraid of us, Taiho realized. Not because of what we did, but because of what we might become. Minsu, still listening to enemy communications, looked up suddenly. "Captain, I'm hearing something strange." "The Admiral is talking to someone called High Council. He says this battle is a test." "A test of what?" Taiho asked. "Of how dangerous humans really are," Minsu replied. "They want to see if one human ship can be a real threat." Taiho looked at his crew. "Then let's show them exactly how dangerous we can be." The intercom beeped. "Engine room to bridge," came Daejong's voice. "The weapons are ready, Captain. But there's a cost. Using them will burn out most of our systems. We might not have enough power left to escape. If this works, we won't need to escape," Taiho said. "The hegemony will be the ones running." Hajun looked up from his station. "Captain, Admiral Kang is calling. Our time is up." "Put him through," Taiho ordered. Admiral Kang's blue face appeared on screen. "Your time is done, human. What is your decision?" Taiho stood tall. "We know the truth, Admiral. About first contact. About why you attacked us." For the first time, the alien showed surprise. "What you think you know is irrelevant. You cannot stop what is coming." "Maybe not," Taiho admitted. "But we can start something new, something you never expected." The Admiral's eyes narrowed. "Explain." "You'll see soon enough," Taiho said. Then he nodded to Hujun, who cut the communication. "Activate the reactor problem," Taiho ordered. "Make it look like we're about to explode. Haijin, move us closer to the flagship." "Yes, Captain," they both replied. Outside, the Defiant began to drift toward the inevitable Dominion. Warning lights flashed on the hull, a sign of a ship in trouble. Radiation alarms blared, loud enough for the hegemony sensors to detect. "They're watching us," Min Su reported. "They think we're having a real emergency." "Weapons ready?" Taiho asked. "Ready," Songye confirmed. Graviton lance combined with quantum fold effect. Target locked on the flagship. "Wait for my command," Taiho said. Let's get a little closer. The Defiant continued to drift, like a wounded animal making one last desperate move. The Defiant drifted closer to the Hegemony flagship. From the outside, the human ship looked weak and broken. Fake radiation warnings flashed on its hull. Emergency lights blinked on and off. But inside, the crew worked with perfect focus. Distance to target? Taiho asked. 5,000 kilometers in closing, Haijin replied. 4 minutes until we're in optimal range. Taiho nodded. Min-Su, what are they saying to each other? Min-Su listened to the enemy communications through his headset. They're confused, Captain. Some ships want to destroy us now. Admiral Kang is telling them to wait. He wants to see what we're doing. Good, Taiho said. His curiosity will be his downfall. Jai-Yun looked up from her screen. Captain, I have an idea. The sun behind us is about to release a solar flare. We could use it as cover. Taiho looked at the tactical display. The local star was indeed building up energy for a flare. Perfect timing. Adjust our approach, he ordered. Time our attack to match the solar flare. In the engine room, Da Jung made final adjustments to the combined weapons system. Sweat dripped from his forehead as he worked. Next to him, Dr. Song-Ye checked calculations on her tablet. Power levels are at maximum, she reported over the intercom. The graviton lance is charged. Quantum fold drive is ready. 2 minutes to optimal firing position, Haijin announced. Taiho opened the ship-wide communication channel. This is the captain speaking. In 2 minutes, we fire our main weapon. After that, most systems will go offline as we lose power. Everyone secure yourselves and prepare for impact. All around the ship, the 30 crew members finished their tasks and strapped themselves into safety harnesses. They had trained for years for all kinds of battles. But nothing like this. 1 minute, Haijin said. On the main screen, they could see the massive form of the inevitable Dominion growing larger. It was an impressive ship, with smooth black metal and glowing blue lines across its hull. It was 10 times the size of the Defiant. 30 seconds, Haijin counted down. Suddenly, Min-Su shouted, Captain, they're raising weapons. They're going to fire. Indeed, the Hegemony flagship was powering up its main guns. They had realized the trick. Solar flare beginning now, Jai-Yun reported. The space around them lit up with bright light as the star released its energy. Fire now, Taiho ordered. Song-Ye pressed the activation button. The combined weapons system hummed to life. The entire ship shook as energy flowed from the main reactor into the experimental weapons. A beam of blue-white light shot from the Defiant toward the Hegemony flagship. It moved strangely, seeming to bend space itself as it traveled. When it hit the flagship's shields, something unexpected happened. Instead of being stopped, the beam passed through the shields as if they weren't there. It struck the side of the massive ship, creating a small dark spot that quickly grew larger. Direct hit, Jai-Yun shouted. The effect was more powerful than anyone had expected. The graviton lance created a strong gravitational field inside the enemy ship, while the quantum fold effect twisted space around it. The flagship's hull began to collapse inward at the impact point, metal folding like paper. Their shields are completely down, Jai-Yun reported, excitement in her voice. The gravitational effect worked. On the main screen, they watched as the mighty inevitable Dominion began to break apart. Its front section crumpled like a crushed can. Blue energy spilled from its engines. Captain, Min-Su called out. They're panicking. Their communications are chaotic. Alarms blared across the Defiant as systems began to shut down. The lights flickered and dimmed. Only emergency power remained. All power to shields, Taiho ordered. Prepare for their response. But there was no response. The Hegemony ships seemed frozen in shock. Their perfect formation broke as some ships moved to help the flagship, while others turned their weapons on the Defiant. They're confused, Haijin said. They don't know what just happened. Neither do we, Taiho admitted with a small smile. But it worked. The first battle had been won. But the war was far from over. The Defiant floated in space, most of its systems offline. Inside, the crew worked by the dim glow of emergency lights. The main weapon had used almost all their power. Damage report, Taiho ordered. Main power at 12%, Haijin reported. Engines offline. Weapons systems burned out. Life support running on backup power. Taiho looked at the tactical screen. The Hegemony flagship was badly damaged, but not destroyed. The other enemy ships were regrouping, moving to surround the Defiant once again. "They'll attack soon," Jia-Yun said. "And we can't fight back." In the engine room, Daijung stared at the quantum fold drive. It was smoking and parts of it had melted. But his mind was racing with a new idea. "Captain," he called over the emergency comm system, "I think I can give us one more advantage." "I'm listening," Taiho replied. "The quantum fold drive is damaged, but it still works at a basic level," Daijung explained. "We can't create another wormhole, but we might be able to create a time distortion field." "A what?" Haijin asked. "A bubble where time moves differently," Daijung said. "Inside the bubble, time would flow normally for us. But outside, everything would appear to move slower." "How much slower?" Taiho asked. "Maybe half speed, maybe less. I can't be sure," Daijung admitted. "But it would give us time to repair some systems while they're still deciding what to do." "Do it," Taiho ordered. Daijung and his team began to rewire the damaged drive. They worked quickly, connecting it to the ship's remaining power systems. Meanwhile, Jia-Yun studied the enemy fleet's new formation. "Captain, look at this," she said. "The way they're positioned now makes them vulnerable." Taiho moved to her station. The tactical screen showed the Hegemony ships forming a tight group around their damaged flagship. "Their ships are networked together," Jia-Yun explained. "They share shield power and targeting data. It makes them stronger as a group." But Taiho could tell she had more to say. "But it also means they all use the same frequencies. If we could disrupt that network," her eyes lit up with excitement, "we could cause a chain reaction." At that moment, Daijung's voice came over the comm. "Time distortion field ready, Captain. But we only have enough power for about 10 minutes of use." "Activate it now," Taiho ordered. A strange humming filled the ship. Through the windows, they could see the stars outside shimmer slightly. On the tactical screen, the enemy ships appeared to slow down. "It's working," Haijin said in surprise. "They're moving at about 1/3 normal speed." "Jia-Yun, explain your plan," Taiho said quickly. "We don't have much time." Jia-Yun pointed to her screen. "Their network has 3 command ships that control the others. If we hit those ships with a focused communication pulse at exactly the right frequency, we could create feedback in their system. Like when a microphone gets too close to a speaker," Min-Su added, understanding the idea. "Exactly," Jia-Yun nodded. "Their own shields would turn against them." "Can we do that with our remaining power?" Taiho asked. "We'd need to get closer," Jia-Yun said. "And we'd need to hit all 3 command ships at the same time." Haijin frowned. "But our engines are offline. We can't move." "We don't need engines," Taiho said, a plan forming in his mind. "We can use the emergency thrusters, short bursts only, to position us." He turned to the crew. "Redirect all remaining power to the communication array. Prepare 3 targeted pulses at the exact frequency Jia-Yun specifies." The crew moved quickly, working together with practiced efficiency. Outside, the Hegemony ships continued their slow approach, unaware that time was flowing differently for the human ship. "Time distortion field will fail in 3 minutes," Daijung warned. "Thrusters ready," Haijin reported. "We can make one move." "Communication pulses ready," Hejun added, targeting the 3 command ships. Taiho looked at his crew. Despite everything, they were still fighting, still finding ways to win against impossible odds. This was what humans did best. On my mark, he said calmly. 3, 2, 1, mark. The Defiant's thrusters fired, pushing the ship into position. At the same moment, 3 invisible pulses shot out from its communication array, each aimed at a different hegemony command ship. The time distortion field collapsed. Outside, the enemy ships returned to normal speed. But something was happening to their shields. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The 3 hegemony command ship shields flared bright blue, then purple, then a blinding white. The energy feedback raced through their network, jumping from ship to ship like lightning. It's working, Jia-Yun shouted. On the tactical screen, they watched as 20 enemy ships lost shields all at once. The networked system that made them strong had become their greatest weakness. Their ships are sending emergency signals, Min Su reported, listening through his headset. They don't understand what's happening. The damaged hegemony flagship, the inevitable Dominion, was trying to regain control of the fleet. Its own shields were flickering on and off as it fought the feedback surge. We've got them confused, Taiho said, but we don't have enough power left to attack again. At that moment, He-Jun called out from his communication station, Captain, I'm picking up a new signal. It's not from the fleet. Put it on speaker, Taiho ordered. A strange voice filled the bridge. It wasn't Admiral Kang, but someone else from the hegemony. The voice spoke slowly with authority. High Council demands status report. Is the human threat contained? Repeat, High Council demands immediate status report. Everyone on the bridge froze. The High Council was the ruling body of the entire hegemony. They controlled thousands of worlds across multiple star systems. They're watching us, Hai-Jin whispered. This whole battle is a test. Min Su nodded, still listening to enemy communications. The Admiral is responding to them now. He's saying this was unexpected. That one human ship shouldn't be able to do this much damage. Taiho understood then. They sent this fleet not just to destroy us, but to evaluate how dangerous humans really are. And what happens if we're too dangerous? Jia-Yun asked quietly. No one needed to answer. They all knew. If humans were deemed too great a threat, the hegemony would stop trying to conquer Earth. They would simply destroy it. As if confirming their fears, Min Su's face went pale as he listened to more transmissions. Captain, I'm hearing something new. The High Council is ordering the fleet to use something called the Final Protocol. What is that? Taiho asked. I don't know exactly, but they're powering up some kind of weapon on all remaining ships, Min Su said. Something big. The Admiral is protesting. He's saying it will destroy everything in this sector, including their own fleet. Taiho looked at his crew. They're willing to sacrifice 47 ships just to make sure we don't escape. The tactical screen showed new energy readings from the hegemony vessels. Whatever the final protocol was, it was using enormous power. How much time do we have? Taiho asked. Maybe 5 minutes before they're fully charged, Jia-Yun estimated. Jun-Ho, who had been quiet for some time, suddenly spoke up. Captain, I've been thinking. This is about more than just us now. What do you mean? Taiho asked. If we die here, no one will know the truth, Jun-Ho said. About first contact. About why the hegemony really fears us. About this test. He paused. But if we could send a message to the remaining human colonies. He-Jun shook his head. Our long-range communications are down. We can't reach anyone. Maybe we don't need to, Song-Ye said, joining the conversation. The hegemony ships are all communicating with the High Council right now. Their channels are open. If we could tap into their network, we could send our own message, Taiho finished her thought. Using their own system. Min Su nodded excitedly. I can do it. I know their protocols now. I can make it look like it's coming from the Admiral's ship. What would we say? Hai-Jin asked. Taiho looked around at his brave crew. For 3 years, humans had fought the hegemony thinking They were defending themselves against alien conquerors. But the truth was more complex. The hegemony feared human potential. They feared what humans might become. "We tell them the truth," Taiho said firmly. "And we show them they were right to be afraid." 4 minutes until the final protocol is ready, Jai Yun mourned, watching the energy levels rise on the enemy ships. Taiho turned to Minsu. "Start working on that message. Send everything we've learned about the hegemony, first contact, and this battle." "Yes, Captain," Minsu said, fingers already flying across his keyboard. Meanwhile, Songyai had been staring at her screen with a strange look on her face. She had been running calculations since their last attack. "Captain," she said suddenly, "I have an idea. It's risky, but it might save us all." "I'm listening," Taiho replied. Songyi pointed to a diagram on her screen. "The quantum fold drive is damaged, but it still works at a basic level. What if we inverted its field?" "Inverted?" Daejung asked, joining the conversation over the intercom. "You mean make it pull instead of push?" "Exactly," Songye said. "And if we sync it with the graviton lance's frequency?" Daejung caught on immediately. "We could create a cascading reaction in the space-time fabric around us." "In simple terms, please," Taiho requested. Songyi took a deep breath. "We could create a wave that would shut down every power system within range. Not destroy them, just disable them. Like a giant power switch turned off." "Would it affect us too?" Haijin asked. "Yes," Songyai admitted. "We'd lose all remaining power. But so would they. Their final protocol would fail." Taiho considered this. "How long would the effect last?" "I don't know," Songye said honestly. "Maybe minutes, maybe hours. It's never been done before." "Can we do it in 3 minutes?" Taiho asked, looking at the countdown on the tactical screen. Daejung's voice came over the intercom. "If we bypass every safety system left, maybe. But Captain, this could tear the ship apart. If we don't try, we're dead anyway," Taiho said. "Do it." As Songyai and Daejung began working on the inverted field, Minsu continued preparing the message to send through the hegemony network. "Message ready, Captain," he reported. "I can send it as soon as we're connected to their system." "Good," Taiho said. "Wait for my signal." Junho spoke up from his security station. "Captain, I have another idea. If we're going to lose all power soon, we should eject our data core first." "Why?" Taiho asked. "It contains everything we've learned," Junho explained. "About the hegemony, their technology, their weaknesses. If any human ship finds it later, they'd have an advantage in the next fight," Taiho finished. "Do it." 2 minutes remained on the countdown. The hegemony ships were glowing with energy as they prepared the final protocol. The damaged flagship was at the center, directing the others. "Inverted field ready," Songya reported. "But we'll need to be closer to affect all of them." "How close?" Taiho asked. "Right in the middle of their formation," she said. Haijin looked worried. "Our thrusters only have enough fuel for one more short burst." "Then we make it count," Taiho said. "Aim us at the center of their fleet." As Haijin prepared the final thruster burn, Hejun called out, "Captain, Admiral Kang is hailing us." "Put him through," Taiho ordered. Admiral Kang's face appeared on screen. The blue-skinned alien looked different now, worried, even afraid. "Captain Kim," he said, "you have fought well. But it ends now. The High Council has ordered your complete destruction." "Why?" Taiho asked. "Because we proved too dangerous." The Admiral's face showed surprise. "You understand more than you should." "We understand everything," Taiho replied. "About first contact. About your fear of what humans might become." "Then you know why you must be stopped," the Admiral said. "Your species advances too quickly. You adapt too well. In a century, you would threaten our entire civilization." "We only wanted peace," Taiho said. "Peace is not possible with a species that could one day surpass us," the Admiral replied. The countdown showed 1 minute remaining. You're right about one thing, Admiral, Tai-Ho said calmly. Humans are adaptable. Let me show you how much. He cut the transmission and turned to his crew. Send the message, Min-Su. Eject the data core. Jun-Ho. Hai-Jin, take us into position. Song-Yi, prepare the inverted field. Everyone moved quickly, carrying out their orders with perfect coordination. Message sent, Min-Su reported. Data core ejected, Jun-Ho confirmed. Position reached, Hai-Jin announced as the thrusters fired one last time. The Defiant drifted into the heart of the enemy fleet. All around them, hegemony ships glowed with deadly energy. Ready, Captain, Song-Yi said, her finger hovering over the activation button. Tai-Ho looked at his brave crew one last time. Fire. A blinding flash of blue-white light erupted from the Defiant. It spread outward in a perfect sphere, moving faster than the eye could follow. When it touched the first hegemony ship, something strange happened. Instead of an explosion, all lights on the alien vessel simply went dark. The wave continued, touching ship after ship, each one powered down immediately, weapons failing, engines stopping, shields disappearing. In moments, the entire hegemony fleet floated silently in space, completely intact but completely powerless. Inside the Defiant, the same thing happened. Every screen went dark. Emergency lights failed. The artificial gravity weakened, causing objects to float gently upward. The ship was as dead as the enemy vessels surrounding it. In the darkness of the bridge, Tai-Ho unstrapped from his chair. Everyone okay? He called out. Yes, Captain, came the replies from around the room. Soft emergency chemical lights cast a green glow as the crew activated them by hand. It worked, Song-Yi said in amazement. All power signatures are gone. The final protocol never activated. How long until systems come back online? Tai-Ho asked. Hours, maybe days, Da-Jung answered, floating into the bridge from the engine room. But the good news is, we didn't break anything new. We just temporarily stopped all power generation. Hai-Jin looked at the darkened screen where they had last seen the enemy fleet. The same would be true for them, right? Yes, Song-Yi confirmed. They'll eventually get their power back too. Tai-Ho nodded thoughtfully. He pushed himself across the bridge to the manual backup systems. These were old-fashioned controls that didn't need electricity. Levers, compressed air tubes, and mechanical switches. Let's get the emergency radio online, he ordered, and manual life support. We need to prepare for when they wake up. The crew worked together, using the training they had practiced, but never thought they would need. Within an hour, they had basic air circulation and a simple radio receiver working. Through the windows, they could see the hegemony ships floating silently around them. On the closest one, emergency lights had begun to flicker on. They were recovering too. Captain, Ha-Jun called from the manual radio. I'm picking up a transmission. He connected the radio to a speaker. Admiral Kang's voice came through, speaking to someone else. Complete failure. One human ship disabled our entire fleet without destroying a single vessel. The High Council must reconsider its approach. Another voice answered, older, more authoritative. The test results are clear, Admiral. Humans are more dangerous than we estimated, but their tactics are unexpected. They could have destroyed us. They chose not to. Tai-Ho and his crew listened in stunned silence. What are your orders, High Counselor? Admiral Kang asked. Contact the humans. Offer terms, the High Counselor replied. Not surrender, but negotiation. We must learn more about them before making final decisions. The transmission ended. The bridge of the Defiant was quiet as everyone absorbed what they had heard. They want to talk, Hai-Jin said in disbelief. We forced them to, Jun-Ho pointed out. We showed them they can't simply destroy us. A small light blinked on the manual communications panel. The hegemony flagship was hailing them. Tai-Ho took a deep breath and activated the response channel. This is Captain Tae-ho Kim of the ESS Defiant. We are ready to discuss terms. Admiral Kang's voice came through clearly. Captain Kim, your ship has accomplished what no other vessel has in the 10,000-year history of the hegemony. You defeated a battle fleet without destroying it. The High Council is impressed. 6 months later, Tae-ho stood in the Great Hall of the Galactic Concord on a neutral space station. Representatives from the hegemony sat across from the human delegation. After long, difficult negotiations, a peace treaty was ready to be signed. Earth would remain independent. The hegemony would withdraw all forces. A new era of careful cooperation would begin, with both sides watching the other warily. As Tae-ho signed his name to the historic document, he thought about his ship and crew. The Defiant had been repaired and improved. Its 30 crew members were now famous throughout the galaxy, not just for winning an impossible battle, but for showing mercy when they could have chosen destruction. Jae-yun, now his second-in-command, stood beside him. "What happens next, Captain?" she asked quietly. Tae-ho looked at the stars visible through the station's large windows. "We rebuild, we learn, and we make sure the hegemony understands that humans make better friends than enemies." He signed the final page of the treaty. "This isn't the end," he said with confidence. "It's just the beginning." The end.